When I think about great music, making my environment better, like it's doing right here at Nobu, I think about Beyonce, I think about Drake, and I think about this guy, Josh Katz. Who? Meet my next American success story. This week, our American success story takes us into New York City to meet Josh Katz, a former successful record company executive who could hear the tune changing within his own industry, and when the time was right, took an idea and decided to go solo. By the way, I'm speaking with Josh Katz, who is the co-founder, and are you the CEO, managing partner, CEO of El Media Group, building an amazing business here. You're a talented record executive, right? And you're doing some cool stuff with some great artists, you know, the Britney Spears, but all the stuff that everyone's heard, right? Why did you leave and say, this is my passion and I'm gonna go after it?
The reason is basically, okay, I was lucky enough to be within the BMG family when they bought Napster.
Yep.
And I sat there listening to executives that were 20 years older than me at the time saying how were they gonna shut it down. Okay, to me that was my exit sign.
That was it.
I said, wow, music industry is not going to make money for a very long time. Okay, music now is perceived as free.
Yep.
No one's ever going to pay for it again. At the time, the recording industry was over a $30 billion a year sector.
Right.
Now it's like $14 billion.
Is that right? It's in half.
Yeah. So I looked at the landscape and I said, wow, you know what? People aren't going to pay for music. Maybe businesses will.
Katz and his business partners started El Media Group, pioneering the custom music curation business by creating background music playlists that enhance the customer experience at over 1,000 top hospitality brands around the country.
Simultaneous, I'm watching all these lifestyle venues emerge. Right. I'm watching as restaurants go from places that people just eat to places where people are hanging, they're spending the night. Right. But at the end of the day, I saw this trend happening where these lifestyle outlets were emerging.
Yep.
And people were spending time in them. And I knew that music was a big part of lifestyle.
Yep.
Another thing happening at the exact same time, the emergence of iTunes. Mm-hmm. Okay, Steve Jobs launches iTunes. He launches the iPod. So musical tastes are expanding at this time. People are getting really into music because of that. So Katz and El Media Group developed a model for offering clients custom playlists of hand-selected music that would speak to these new consumer expectations. All they had to do now was sell them. Yeah, first client was actually Gansevoort Hotel.
Okay.
And I cold called them. I rode my bike there because I couldn't afford a taxi. And had the doorman watch my bike. I went inside and I pitched him and he said, okay, let's do it. So we did it.
Right, so 10 years in, how many clients do you have? And then I want to talk a little bit about where you're going.
Food and beverage, from Nobu, Hakkasan, Four Seasons, La Bernardine, Tao Group.
Who's who?
You name it, we pretty much have them. And the reason that we have them is we have the best service around, hands down. Mm-hmm. No one can even come close to the product we deliver. We redefine the sector. So since we last sat down, but we have now sold the business.
You sold the business?
We sold the business.
What does that mean?
It means that we exited it to a private equity firm that's rolling it up with other similar in-venue media services and building a much larger conglomerate.
Hey, tell me why you said this is the time for Josh Katz to get out.
It was a long road. It was 12 years of building with no outside investment, no outside capital, no partnerships from the outside, so everything was on me. For years, I was building it, I was steering the ship, I was putting in the coordinates, I was doing everything. And when the opportunity came along to be part of something much bigger with greater resources, it seemed like a very, very much a no-brainer to hand the reins off to people that could take something I built and just make it much larger. Simultaneous to that, what I actually do for a living, no one even understood it for the first 7 years of what I did.
Right.
All of a sudden, in the last 3 years, it's become one of the hottest things.
That's right.
I mean, I've had a lot of music industry people tell me, hey, you were the first guy that ever told me about playlisting. You were the first company that ever streamed music.
Right.
We were way ahead of the curve because we had to be. The industry caught up. What we did became very hot, and people came knocking.
What's next, man? You've got options.
Well,
right?
I'm just trying to basically transition my business right now, work with new management, and gear it up to be what it could be, and decide where we're going to go from there.
There's nothing better than meeting someone who's growing a business and then finding out soon thereafter that they sold it with a great exit. It's music to my ears. And now, for Josh Katz, the road ahead is wide open. Trust me, I know the feeling.